Now, once you log into GoToWebinar, you're going to schedule a webinar. So title your webinar. Enter a description. It's a good idea to, just enter a few of your points from your opt-in squeeze page. Select the time and the date. So say our event is going to be on the 16th, maybe at 8 p.m. and it ends at 9 p.m. It's an hour long. We're going to select our time zone and schedule the event. Once your event is scheduled, you want to come in and you can adjust the settings. I always leave the audio, so that the participants can use their microphone and speakers. You want to probably add the long distance number for the US as well as Canada, because you'll probably have, Canadians and Americans calling in. You could add the, the UK if you'd like to there. For branding, this is where you're going to upload your image, so your banner image or your header that you've created. If to list the presenters in the waiting room, this is the page that people would see while they're waiting for the event to start. So for you to show your screen, you could add, your own photo or that kind of thing, or a logo or something like that. The next thing, panelists, if you were to, to interview somebody or you have a guest speaker, this is where you would add their details. To invite your attendees, this is your registration link. For the registration settings, we're going to click View. Because we're having people opt in first, we don't really need to collect any of these details. We're just going to leave the mandatory fields, which are first name, last name, and email address. If you'd like, you could add, a question. So maybe invite people to, answer a specific question, or that kind of thing. This is a great way to get some detailed data from your participants. So we'll just create that. We're going to leave it as automatically approved, so we don't need to manually approve who's registering for our event. When someone registers, you could have, an email sent or not. And then upon registration, we want to direct the registrations to the GoToWebinar confirmation page, or we could direct registrants to our own confirmation page. If we were to do that, what we would do is enter in, we would go back to our website and the virtual event thank you page. What we would do is just take this, copy it, and paste it in right here. So it's kind of a matter of personal preference. It makes it more branded and personalized, so that is a good practice to have. But at the same time, the GoToWebinar confirmation page does contain details about the webinar itself. So really, it's just a matter of personal preference. Tracking registrants. This is where you would come to see a list of who has registered. And then the emails. So the confirmation email is sent to registrants upon registration, so we'll leave that as is. We want them to get their details as soon as they register for the webinar. A reminder email, a good practice is to have one sent 1 hour before the webinar start date and time, and 1 day. So that's always a good practice. And then you could leave the subject line like this, or you could, put in some custom text, which is a good practice as well. And the polling questions, you could add them in here, or you could add them in at a later date. And this is a good practice, to ask people questions during the webinar itself. It's a great way to engage your attendees and to also collect data from them. So that's a good practice. And that's it for setting up your event. What you're going to want to do is copy your webinar registration page and enter it here.